Hi, my name is Louis Haas. I am a medieval historian, which means I study European history from 300 AD to 1500. So I teach an upper division course for majors and minors and anyone else interested in the topic on the Middle Ages. Because I focus my research in the late Middle Ages and in Italy, I also do an upper division course on the Renaissance, with a special emphasis on development in Italy from 1300 to 1600. Likewise, because of my interest in Italian history, as well as my training by one of the best crusading historians in the world, I do an upper division course on the medieval Mediterranean, examining the three cultures, Southern Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East, and the Byzantine Near East, surrounding that sea from 300 to 1500. Although I am a medieval European historian, my general education requirement here at MTSU is the two-semester U.S. history sequence, not Western or world civilization. At the graduate level, I've taught the Introduction to Graduate Studies course, as well as a graduate reading seminar on the Middle Ages. In addition to the courses that I've done at the upper division level, I also teach the History Methods course for undergraduates, about once every 2 or 3 years. Lastly, to fill in for a colleague called away to do research, I did a course on comparative modern world revolutions, running from the American and French revolutions all the way to the Iranian Revolution of the 1980s. Because I am a social historian, I approach my classes from the point of view of what daily life was like for people living back then, and focus my efforts on trying to explain that to the students in the lectures, as well as through the assignments. The famous French medieval historian Marc Bloch said that the true historian is like the ogre of legend, where he smells human flesh, there he knows that he has his prey. I believe likewise. How did people live in the past? How did they marry? How did they raise their families? How did they provide for themselves? How did they die? These, to me, are the big questions that intrigue and fascinate me, and I try to bring my students along with me for the journey and the investigation, for the search. It is very much a trip. All my classes follow the same format. I assign a textbook to provide a general introduction to what I will talk about in detail later. And it also provides a more comprehensive narrative of the subject than I will be able to accomplish in this classroom. I supplement this with a book of readings and documents, or just documents alone, which is for the weekly discussion. I lecture 2 days a week, Monday and Wednesday, and then Friday becomes discussion breakout day. I served almost a decade as a teaching assistant and very much appreciate the value of formal discussion for learning and critical thinking. I then assign the 3 outside readings, either primary sources from the era or classic or groundbreaking secondary sources. Each of these will have an essay or book review assignment hooked onto it. I very much believe that one of our jobs here is to make students better writers, and no better way exists to this end than to make them do it, and do it again. Along those lines, I assign a formal 12 to 15-page term paper based on primary and secondary sources, which also serves as a platform for students to become experts on some aspect of the history I teach, as well as to learn something about the historian's craft, and especially how we approach problems. The historical method proceeds just like a term paper does. It is how historians think in term paperese, so to speak. To check on how well students are learning the story of my class, I do test them with in-class written essays twice a semester and with a comprehensive final at the end. Doing this also breaks the class into 3 separate chunks, which usually parallels the tripartite way I look at the structure of a course anyhow. As I mentioned above, I lecture twice a week. The first lecture is on the general topic of the week. In fact, I conceive of each week as a unified unit as well, which then acts as both introduction to the Wednesday lecture as well as a bridge from the textbook. The Wednesday lecture is on a more narrowly defined topic, sort of like a case study of something mentioned heavily in the previous lecture. My approach to the class, then, is what some have referred to as the fence and post hole method. The textbook provides the wide coverage, it is the fence. All the other assignments, the Wednesday lecture and the outside readings and term papers, represent the fence post, where we can stop and slow down and really get our teeth into the historical nature and facts of a case, of life from the past brought back to our viewing. I find teaching rewarding. First, I get to talk about something I like to study, history and the Middle Ages in particular. Second, I do like the idea of helping people reach their potential. And not everybody has to be a history major. I think I've taught some good writing skills and critical thinking skills to people who are now lawyers, business types, soldiers, government workers, and all sorts of things. I think I've also helped them become better. I also have aided history teachers and those going on to graduate school. My best undergraduate student is now finishing up a good PhD in crusading history. Perhaps the most rewarding aspect of this is whenever former students contact me years after we work together and they say, "Oh, I remember that," or "Oh, that helped me just now." I like that.